All right, everybody. Welcome to the last webinar for the fall ArcGIS training. I'm excited that you guys were able to show up today, and we have a lot of really good feedback in the GIS follow-up column with excellent questions. And so we'll jump right into that. So we'll start with the top. Rod, you're still working with people trying to get them to commit?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a broken record, but there's just so much going on in this district to get anybody else to try to jump in and try something new. We have that new reading materials, Wonders, it's all online, and they're just kind of a little bit overwhelmed. And so I'm hopeful this spring when things maybe settle down a little bit, I can maybe get somebody moving in that direction. But right now they're kind of in survival mode.
Okay. It's understandable, and I appreciate you guys keeping on promoting it and hoping that you will find somebody who jumps on board and gets excited.
Definitely. They're probably getting tired of me, but
okay.
All right.
Keep on keeping on.
All right, will do.
Sweet. Brittany.
Hi.
Hey. So you did undercover mapper with your 4th and 5th grade. What happened?
They really enjoyed it. We did the undercover mapper 1 and 2. They enjoyed it. It was fun for them to see new places and try different base maps. See if they could figure out some locations and features that they visited. So it went well.
Okay.
Yeah, the part we're not doing questions yet.
Oh, no, we can do your questions too. Yep, no, Rod just didn't have any questions. And so.
Oh, no, that's fine.
You have a great question and I have a great answer for you. So ask your question.
Well, if you already have the answer, the email piece for students to create a student account, 4th and 5th graders don't receive an email. I don't think they receive that till middle school, but I checked. And so I didn't know if there was a way around that for creating a student account.
There is, and so I linked on the agenda. There's an ArcGIS implementation guide for districts, and then when you go in and look on page 21 of that, they talk about basically you can use like your email address, or you can create a Gmail account, or something that a generic type email address. And then when you do that, it says if they do not have a school provided email address, use your school assigned email address and choose the option not notify by email. You would share the username and password you created with the student directly, and then if they forget, you would have to recreate that.
Okay, thank you.
That's a way to get around that. Yeah, no, that's a great, and it was one of those things that I vaguely knew, so it was good to confirm that. So good questions, and was fairly giddy to find an answer for it.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Cool. Well, I'm excited you used Undercover Mapper. Did they like it?
They did. It just was user friendly for that age group, and we did one just so they could become familiar with the tools and where those were located. It was approachable, and they got some independence with that. On the second one, they created a national park, that I believe the theme, and so it was fun to see what they came up with, and it was just really user friendly. From the other sessions that I watched, that was kind of the approach of how you begin and where you start, and with that younger age group, it worked out well. It was fun. It wasn't intimidating. It was set up. It was very straightforward. So.
Good. Well, it's good to hear. I mean, just because you guys did well with it when you did it with what we did with the adult groups, but I wasn't sure with your age group how it would go. All right, Ruben, welcome. I don't know. Ruben might not be able to hear me. So we're gonna skip Ruben right now. I can't hear Ruben. So we'll skip him. However, he did he's still, you know, working on things. He mentioned the question there about doing a mini demonstration. You know, and Dan, at the last webinar, we offered to, you know, be able to work with you guys or work with a small group if they need, you know, if you want to introduce this to other teachers in your district. And so we can definitely do a webinar and have a small group type situation. So just let us know. Let us know, and we can figure something out. So it's mainly communicating what works for you guys and trying to figure out a time. All right, Kelsey, you're on.
Awesome. So I started my new geography course yesterday, and have used quite a few resources. I created a Symbaloo, utilizing those resources from November till now. I've done a lot of research. I've spent a lot of time utilizing both the story maps, the inquiries. Now I think it's just actually using them. So I've done the research, I have found them, and now students are just going to get an opportunity to play with them. Today we were going to do the illumination activity, but I didn't have time, so it'll be the first thing that we do tomorrow. Right now I have a little anxiety about making sure that the students are able to manipulate the maps as I see fit. So I think there'll be some trial and error here as we start to actually execute specifically the geo inquiries. I've done one with one class. It went really well, but I anticipate using these resources 2 to 3 times, maybe even 4 times a week. So just making sure that they work and that we don't have any technological glitches. So, yeah.
Nice. That's exciting. And using them that much. I mean, your kids, are you going to try to do the map contest with them then?
Probably not at this point. So I'm teaching geography, but I don't have a textbook. And so I'm utilizing these resources as kind of a supplement to the text. And so that's why I've dug so much into the story maps, because they can provide a lot of content without having that book. So, or a resource that every kid has access to that steps out a little bit further into application than just general content. So I don't think that kids will be doing a significant amount of map manipulation. You know, I know the geo inquiries, but kind of going into the layers and the basis, I don't know if we'll get to that point. More of it's using some of the visual aids that come with the system. That's probably more of what I'll focus on.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, Dan from Brandon Valley. You still there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I think I just put on there about geo inquiries. That's the first time I really tried those in class. First time I did it, it was a disaster. But it was mainly just because I think I kind of stayed on there. Middle schoolers, they just missed a few directions here and they got really lost. So when you got 34 kids in a class, you kind of have to be one-on-one, but it got better the second time, and I'm actually doing one tomorrow, and I think it'll go well with the smaller class I have. Other than that, I've used a few story maps, and the kids are more kind of wow factor with those. My middle schoolers are, so that's kind of fun. I just maybe need to figure out, is there certain things I want to have them learn from it. I haven't used it for a specific lesson or anything like that in class, more just to help implement some of the things I'm doing in class. But that's pretty much it. This spring I'll start using some more things in class, but I'll probably have to get them loaded on to ESRI and ArcGIS to do some of those.
Okay. Well, nice. It'll be good to are you going to plan to do the map contest?
Probably not overall. If I have a couple students that I think are really capable of it, I might ask them if they'd be interested in doing that.
And that's really, it's a really great extension, in terms of, pushing those kids that are interested. It doesn't have to be everybody do it necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. You didn't have any questions, yeah. All right, Michelle, what you got? You're muted. Okay.
Okay. So I have, I finally started teaching geography. So I didn't have a lot to report during our last webinars, but I too just started a world geography class. I'm teaching geography to 7 different schools. And so, and because I teach in a blended format, then I know that every one of my students has a device of some sort, but just figuring out what's on the other end is always a treat. So we are, I hacked a globalization geo inquiry. I'm still somewhat offended that I didn't know you could open a PDF in Word. That's like the most earth-shattering thing.
But now you know.
But that's the biggest thing I've learned, that will just take me everywhere. So what I found, and it was interesting because I've done this, I did the globalization geo inquiry last year. And so every year you always like to do this stuff that works and get rid of this stuff and try to forget it ever happened if it was horrible. But when I was looking at it to prepare for it, I noticed that there are like the most low level questions on these honors level geo inquiries. And so I went in and I modified those. So a question, for instance, is there a relationship between internet usage and transportation networks on this particular geo inquiry? And do you want to know what a high school student would say?
Yes.
And what can I do? So I've gone in and I've modified the questions to higher level thinking questions, because you can't blame them for trying, right? So I've done that, and my intent is to use this with every unit, and so that to use to actually be building maps working on that every week when I meet with them, because I only meet with my kids live twice, and then the rest is video based. So we'll be using it every week. We are going to win the competition.
Okay.
I only play games if I win. Fear and intimidation in the hearts of the children. I don't care what it takes. But I think that I can see already a lot of usage with this, because I do teach to so many agricultural communities. So for instance, I have a student that's already like on fire about this, that sent me images of what they're using with precision agriculture on his farm. And so making those connections with what they're doing in their own communities, and what they're doing and what we're doing with the aid of this awesome tool is really exciting. And the kids are excited too. So I just want you to come up with something so I don't have to work really hard. Which leads me to my question with the rubric. I want some sort of self-assessment tool. So,
well, we have the rubrics for the map contest, and I will share them with you guys and see if that's something that you can utilize. Okay.
Okay, and then yes, because I'm tired and I grade papers a lot, so I want them to do the work, and as well they should be self-assessing their own work. So
You could also put a peer review in there.
I agree.
No, I like that. And then would you consider sharing your sending me the link so I can add your hacked geo inquiry?
I don't have a link. I have a document.
I'll upload it to Google, or email it to me and I'll upload it to Google.
Sure.
Just email it to me and I'll deal with it.
We are physical geography, human geography, and then so I break every unit up into separate parts. And so we're starting the human geography, and we start with the globalization inquiry.
Okay. I just it would be kind of cool to see your hacked and see what you did to it, just because it's kind of fun. And Kelsey, I forgot to ask you, I'm going to ask you to share your Symbaloo. If you'd consider sharing your Symbaloo, that would be awesome, just since thank you. Oh, wow. So cool. This is really fun. You guys are really doing a lot of stuff. So Trent, you made me laugh. Um, so the Southwest and West middle school teachers are humoring you.
Well, I hope not, but a lot of them they're starting up their STEAM squared classes and they're asking for some advice. And so some of them have good ideas and some of them are looking for some things. And so I've thrown this one out there, and I hope someone bites. A couple of them are feigning interest, and if what they come up with doesn't pan out. So, and if no one wants to kind of do a class dedicated to something like this, I'm going to start finding out what people are doing and seeing if it can be incorporated into what they're already doing.
Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for keeping on trying. I do appreciate it. And I did send you names, I think, before Christmas of a couple of victims. So did you get those?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I sent you a couple names before Christmas of potential teachers in the district. So didn't I?
Yeah, I got those. Are East teachers, and yeah, I've been doing a lot of other things with them, and so I'm holding those in my back pocket if I don't get anything else.
Okay, good. Because I think they'd be good. All right, Darren, you're gonna give Michelle a run for her money, is what I'm hearing. Unmute yourself. Okay. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, better.
So as soon as I showed on the map of how many submissions there were last year in South Dakota, I told them that there was, prize involved, and I got excited.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not. I only have a couple right now, and that's probably all I'll have. But yeah, I think the ones that are doing it have a couple cool ideas. So.
And you've got really good questions, and I think we're all kind of still figuring it out in terms of the best ways to start students using the program and keep their interest. Is it something for all students of all abilities, or is it just to expose the students that are interested? I think for like the map contest, you could definitely go with your interest base. Especially this first year, because especially in middle school, depending on the ability level and the interest level, it'd be easier to manage. But I think, like Michelle is using the geo inquiries. I think using those geo inquiries and some of those things that are available to you, Kelsey's using them, Dan's using them, having those geo inquiries, even interspersed content-wise, is a good way. And the schools that that we've talked about, that people have told me kind of what they've done, those connecting to local projects have really made them a lot more engaging for the learners. And so it'd be interesting to see what Michelle's students do with the agriculture and the precision agriculture, just because that is, if they're doing that, there's tons of resources for that. Does that help, or does that make it worse, Darren?
No, that's great. Great.
All right, Adam, you haven't found time yet?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of luck yet. I still keep holding out hope that I can look at one of those student interest groups, but I haven't really jumped into that yet.
Well, and I think the student interest groups would be a really great way to get that started, especially with how Rapid has structured that. So keep working, guys. I know you're out there. All right, Chris, are you here tonight? I don't think you are. I don't think Chris has popped in with us. And I want to comment on what he noted, just that it's moving slower than he wants. It is a slower process, and not in a bad way. It's just one of those things that you're going to want to kind of start with an interested teacher and grow, rather than try to start with everybody, and it's just, it'll be less overwhelming. And then Tanner, I don't think he's here also. So Ruben, I see you've got your sound. Did you want to try talking now?
Yeah, is it working now?
Yes, we can hear you.
There. Yeah, that was, computer settings and such, and so.
Details.
Yeah, details. We figured it out. That's the main thing. Yeah, I guess we have been, or at least I've been talking with a couple different teachers about using the ArcGIS and then and some of the other programs that we looked at our October workshop. And I got a lot of interest and such. And we kind of started talking about this right before Christmas. And of course, Christmas break comes in, everybody winds down. So now we're trying to get the ball rolling again, get that interest built back up. I want to get our elementary teachers involved in this because I think it's really great for what they're doing and some of the coursework they're covering. But because we're split buildings, our elementary is 10 miles to the north of us. It's kind of hard to find time to get in and find time to together with this. So, but the teachers that are here, the earth science teacher that's here and such, real interest there as well. We've been talking with our IT about getting the org account set up and everything, and then kind of got their blessing on that. So we can move forward with that here eventually and get that set up and kind of. But I think when we start talking about it, or at least when I start talking about it and the capabilities and stuff, there's a bit of overwhelming when we start talking about some of this information. So as kind of was what my question was, I know it's conversed in email and stuff like that about possibly doing some sort of like short demo for teachers that weren't at the workshop but are interested and kind of help them get rolling. And so I think that would be a real good shot in the arm for here at Dubrook to get those teachers on board to actually have a concrete date of, hey, come check this out, see if it's something you can use in your classroom. I think we'd have, probably maybe half dozen show up and stuff that would be able to use it in their classroom. And so we could probably really build the interest there and then really kind of expand from that point on.
And that's something, definitely we can definitely pull together a webinar if you want to do something like this. Just get them together in a room and we can sit down and share a couple resources and talk about it and let them explore. That would probably be the easiest in terms of scheduling, right? Because Dan or I can do that kind of wherever we're at, easier than trying to get there. Right. So, and that would go with any of you guys, if you wanted to do a quick webinar with, you've got a few teachers that really are interested, we can definitely do a quick webinar. It's just a matter of scheduling that.
Okay. No, that's fine. I can kind of feel out, see if there's a time or kind of maybe even a date that would work here. And then if it works with your schedule, then we can maybe put something together then.
Okay. Yeah. Really, we've been doing a lot of these types of things. For a couple of different programs that I'm working with, and it's mainly, it means I can generally work a day and then come and then do this. So it works out well. Cool. All right. Well, I'm glad you got your sound to work. So other fun things, we really pulled together a number. So I'll add the resources that you guys are going to share. Michelle, your HackGeo inquiry, Kelsey, your Symbaloo, I'll add those under the check-in just so that we have those. And if any of you else have created something that you'd like to share for everybody, definitely let us know. The next thing is just a cool thing that I didn't know. One of the guys at Esri sent an email saying, hey, did you see that Yankton, Fox Run Golf Course in Yankton, created by Kristen Yonke of the city of Yankton, got second place in the Storytelling with Maps contest that Esri puts on. And so this is a professional level. We're working on the student contest, but there's a professional level. And so I thought this was just really cool. This is South Dakota and it's second place. And so you guys can check that out. And I always think it's fun when you can find South Dakota resources and that they've won. And then Dan wanted to touch on there's so many really cool geo inquiries anymore, and we were fascinated by this one. So Dan, did you want to touch on this math one real quick?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Julie and I get the prescription for this magazine.
Now I can't hear you, Dan.
You can or cannot?
Now I can.
We get a subscription to this magazine. It's got a bunch of highlights from ArcGIS, software modifications, recent additions.
Come a little closer to your speaker.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, and we can really see you too. I'll shut your camera off.
So Julie and I have been working with some, we get this magazine on a monthly basis. It's basically the New Yorker for social studies lovers. And so this last magazine had these great mathematics lessons integrated in geo-inquiries. And I felt like that was such a fun kind of activity. So sort of like taking the ball maybe out of the sole realm of the geography teacher or the social studies teacher and putting it in the potential realm of a mathematics teacher. And this one was really a fascinating one. I think you guys have done something similar with measuring different things in a map. This one is actually to develop a measurement for the volume of the Great Pyramid and then do a comparison about how much volume has been lost over the years based on the estimated initial measurements. It just seemed like a really fun activity and a real great kind of hands-on visual learning thing that displays these sort of complex mathematical concepts about using formulas, calculating measurements, and doing some mathematics operations to come to a reasonable an actual understanding of the size of the pyramids. I see a lot of great next steps. I see a lot of potential ideas about challenging kids locally, like, all right, well, if that's the volume of the pyramids, what's the volume of this building, or what's the volume? I see a lot of different things that you can do with that, and I thought that was pretty exciting for a teacher outside of the traditional geography or social studies classroom. I think they add them all the time. And so we get this magazine that highlights some of their new additions, and I really like this one. I thought they did a good job with it.
Well, and some of the non-social studies content area resources are, I mean, because they have the ELA content too, which is a really great way to tie those, tie some of those connections together. So cool. Thank you, Dan. Last thing we wanted to share with you guys was Minnesota got a grant, a number of grants, and they put them together, and they actually put together geo inquiries, which I just is like super cool. So when you click on the link, what?
We're hoping that's going to be our next step, South Dakota specific geo inquiries, yeah?
Yeah, and actually we thought, how fun would it be if some of our student maps could be turned into geo inquiries, because they're creating South Dakota specific layers. We were thinking, we were really thinking, so Michelle, Darren, anybody else who's creating maps, these are for you. What Minnesota has done is they got multiple grants. It's a number of organizations that are working together, and it's kind of fun. Dan and I pulled up the Minnesota shipwrecks, and you'll notice that they do a student version, and so I think this is the student version. And then they also have a teacher version, and so the teacher version has the answers, which is nice, but they also have it without the answers. And then they have their maps. And Dan and I, we did look at this one. Let's see, where is the shipwrecks? Oh, here they are. And so this is really mind-boggling. The number of shipwrecks that there are is just fascinating. And then the dinners one is also really cool. If you look at the dinners one, that one looks at different foods. And so it was really an interesting concept. And so that's what they're doing in Minnesota is they put together. And so I thought for multiple different things, I mean, it's kind of nice to see this local content, but it's also really neat to see the potential of what we can do in our state. So I think that's all the content that we really had for you guys today. The very last thing, so before you totally leave us, please fill out the feedback survey just to let us know how this webinar series went. And also make sure you register for the graduate credit, and then I will record your grades and everything. And I'll send that out when I send out the archive so that you have all that again. Is there anything else that you guys have questions on or need before we wrap it up?
I guess not at this time.
Okay. Well, good. Well, thanks so much for attending the webinar series, and we will be communicating about the map contest. So